So this is a video about what I've noticed about those who complied with biomedical fascism. So just imagine being a German in 1950 and you're living with people that used to be a member of the Nazi party. Maybe they joined the SS, maybe even they were part of the Einsatzgruppen. And you might have been one of those people that's rare people, that, I don't know, 20–30%, that wanted nothing to do with the Nazis when they were in power. But you got to live amongst these people who complied with pure evil. They did that as a choice. We all face coercion. Most people took the knee to it and went along with it. That 20–30% of people basically took the moral route, even if it meant that they lost their creature comforts. That's the deal, isn't it? Is that we all face the coercion. We all did. That was a common external factor. We all faced the coercion. But how did you respond? Did you go with it, or did you oppose it? Or did you even make money from it? You know, like the general pushers did in the November Hotel Sierra, or these people on this web forum that I used to go on, who worked in the vaccination centre, and who's another one whose son actually took money to make sure that shops were displaying the correct Coviet Union signage. So as was the case in the 1950s in Germany, as is the case today, you will have within some families, you know, divides basically. Sister against brother, brother against sister, maybe husband against wife. You know, one of the parties cooperated with the Coviet Union and embraced tyranny for reasons of self-interest, whilst the other took the morally right course of action. I think here in Finland something similar happened in 1917 when there was a civil war in Finland, and you had bitter disputes within communities between people who backed the communists, the Reds, and people who backed the other side, who opposed communism, the Whites. So, you know, how long did it take for those wounds to heal? Basically a generation. And you know, obviously I think even in Germany today, you'll have some people who were alive back then who are still, you know, thought that nothing was wrong with 1930s National Socialism in Germany. But these are people like today who would sort of claim that there was nothing wrong in 2021 to 2022 with the biomedical fascism, and they're still unrepentant about it now. These are like, you know, ex-members of the Waffen-SS or the Einsatzgruppen. And was the case then, you know, some of these people were quite happy to sacrifice their own kids for the cause, you know, by submitting them to the medical experiment for Facebook likes. Or, you know, back in 1930s, 1940s Germany, sending them off to Russia in a uniform. So what am I noticing about these like Coviet collaborators? First thing that I'm noticing is they don't want to talk about it. They want us to forget all about what they did and what they went along with. I think the second thing that I'm noticing is anger from the sheep dippers, the ones that had the sheep dip. They feel not just angry but humiliated. They know that we know that they were conned, that they were sold a pup, that they were idiots who fell for it. And I think that kind of eats them up. They feel a great sense of shame that they failed the test, not only of intelligence but of morality too. And their response to that is not to hold their hands up and say, I was wrong. It's just basically, I don't want to talk about it. And I'll stay well clear of situations where I might be asked about it. So their egos are getting in the way of them learning important lessons. You know, they're so ashamed of being fooled that the last thing that they're inclined to do is to just accept that they were wrong and just fess up to it all. Know what they did was shameful, and they are ashamed of it, and they just don't want to talk about it. I think this, although they don't want to talk about it, number three thing I've seen is, like, I suppose you could sum it up as distracted. These people, they often seem to be permanently caught in their own thoughts, distracted. And a number of people have noticed this as well, and in the context of poor driving, you know, it's as if, like, people are so preoccupied with what's inside them, what they did, how stupid they were to go along with it. They just can't think of anything else, and that preoccupation means that they can't concentrate on anything else. So they're not doing what they used to do as effectively because they're just so preoccupied. Sorry, you know, and I guess this is why many of them do appear to look physically tired and worn out and careworn, you know, grey skin, just look terrible, because this is what happens. Maybe they're not sleeping. Maybe this is what happens to you when you are just consumed with guilt and shame about what you did. I think the fifth thing that I've noticed is that they're not for changing. You know, because they've not learned, because they've not admitted their errors and tried to move on and learn from it, their core values haven't changed. Most of these people, the Coviet conspirators, they're still inclined towards obedient rule following. You know, this is what they think is the right thing to do. I don't know if you can see that, there's a bird up there, some sort of eagle. There's one over there as well. Yeah, the thing with these people is that they're still, because they're authoritarian kind of mindset, they're obedient rule followers, they're still extremely resentful of us because we didn't do what they did, which was to obediently do what they were told to do. And you know, they really resent us for that. You know, that they followed the rules, they did what they were told to do, and they resent us because we basically didn't. We said no, we didn't follow the orders, we didn't follow the immoral rules. I think for many of these people, they know it's just a matter of time now before the full truth emerges. As we all know, it's gradually being drip fed into the establishment mainstream media. You know, it will be known within, probably the full details, I would imagine, would be known within 5 years. And you know, they're going to have to account for themselves. You know, again, it's similar to, you know, it was all great putting on the SS uniform in 1940, 1941. You might have been very pleased to admit that you were a fully paid up member of the Coviet Union or a member of the Nazi Party, but less so in 1950. And I think many of these people, the obedient rule followers, they actually are envious of us because they know that they're going to have to answer for their immoral behaviour. They're going to have to, they wish they were on the other side, but it's too late now. They complied with what they complied with. So I think with the old Divok, it was a paradigm refuting moment for the obedient rule follower. You know, the obedient rule followers, they got to where they got, they climbed up the organisation, they were the brown nosers, the suck-ups, the type of people that would run for head boy, head girl. And you know, it served them well to be obedient rule followers, until that is Divok 91 popped on the scene and the Britney Spears concerts. The other thing that I would say about these normies really is that they are, most of them are kind of actors, you know, who just, they've always performed roles, you know. I'm going to be middle class, so I'm going to buy a leasehold BMW, I'm going to buy all of these, like, you know, the trinkets that other middle class people have. They are actors in their own way. So kind of ignore what they write on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, because you know that's just them. They are actors. They have no problems whatsoever in just repeating lies, being repeater stations for lies. They have no problem with that whatsoever. If you really want to know what's going through their mind, study their behaviour instead. Look at what these people actually are doing, because that tells you what their true mindset actually is, rather than what they're saying or writing. Through their actions, you will know them. So a great example is the people that work for the November Hotel Sierra. And make no mistake about this. They know that they were party to crimes against humanity. How do I know this? Well, as I say, study their actions. 70% of the people that work for the November Hotel Sierra refused their last rooster booster. So that tells you everything. They know that this is toxic. But, you know, these criminals, they're still happy to stick things into the arms of your relatives, which is absolutely shameful. But make no mistake, they know. That's what their actions are telling you. 70% of them refused it. So 600,000 frontline November Hotel Sierra people out of 860,000 declined the offer of a winter rooster booster. I'll put that on the screen now to back that up, a source. Another thing that I've noticed about those that went to the Britney concerts is, you know, that I think they've noticed that we're in better health than they are. We look better than they do. Many of them are just suffering from, you know, perpetual and they just don't look well. And I think they've noticed that difference in health between those that took part in the medical experiment and those of us that didn't. Another thing that I've realised about the like the Coviet collaborators is that they were always the same. You know, it all came out in the open, obviously. During that period, 2020 to let's call it 2022. And it became undeniable then, but on reflection, when I think back to it, the people that went along with it were always pretty dodgy. And if I was to summarise it, I would use the phrase that Mark Passio uses. I would refer to these people as mini-me Satanists. I don't mean by that is that they dress up as the devil or anything like that. So what I mean by that is that they worship themselves as if they were their own mini god. And yeah, I suppose, you know, a phrase that's been used a lot at the moment is they're narcissists. And yeah, that's true in that in anything that they do, the only thing that they consider is themselves. So this is what happened, obviously, during the peasants' pantomime. You know, these people might have been great on virtue signalling all of their lives, but when you actually study their actions, they always put themselves first. So for example, during the lockups, they were really happy drinking wine in their back gardens financed by furlough. They weren't thinking about the teenagers that ended up, I had to think carefully of the words there, ending their own lives. Let's see if that gets through the censorship. But there was, as I say, I knew 2 or 3 teenagers in Guildford where that sadly happened. And basically why it happened was the exam grades were going to be based on predicted grades, which was based on the mock exams. And many of the cleverest students, they never revised for mocks, for obvious reasons. But you know, they weren't anticipating you know, human rights being withdrawn and predicted grades being used for their A-level results. Then also had old people being isolated. So a lot of these like right on lefty progressive people, they couldn't give a rat's ass about the effect that the lockups had on those people. All that mattered to them was mini me. I get to drink wine in my back garden, financed with money printing. Another thing that I noticed about people that did consent to it was that, yeah, you know, they were very, very interested in, you know, their own ego and how they were going to be perceived by other people. So these were the types that were very, very, you know, inclined to boast, constantly boast, you know, about themselves to other people to try to improve their own social standing. These were the people who were more likely to go along with the Coviet Union. Rhymes with anchors. Ruthless people. Self-centered people. So sadly, many of these, what I've noticed as well is that it can end up running, these attributes, they can end up running through families. So, you know, we go back to the nature versus nurture type debates, don't we? You know, is it genes? Or is it the lessons that these narcissistic parents actually pass on, life lessons verbally or by example to their own kids? I don't know what the answer to that is, but it definitely does run through families. So, you know, things that I've noticed is, you know, kids who, they might go to somebody's house, right, and they don't even say hello to the host. Just like, they don't say hello to people, basically. And their parents, they just allow that. They indulge in that type of egocentric, selfish, disrespectful behaviour. It's almost like, you know, they're teaching their kids that it's fun to disrespect other people. Something a bit left field that I've noticed. It's the same sort of thing, but it's quite interesting. And I first really noticed this at when I worked at the last school, this boarding school in Surrey, was the attitude that a lot of young people have towards food. So in the dining room, they used to have whole pieces of fruit, you know, like oranges, apples, bananas. And what I noticed, or what the head even noticed, actually, give us some credit on this, is that many of these kids, they would take one bite, they would take an apple onto their lunch tray, you know, with their food and maybe a hot dessert or whatever, and they would have one bite out of an apple, and then they would throw the apple away in the bin. So again, it's sort of like completely disrespectful behaviour. And I don't know if this is a Surrey thing, but, you know, from, you know, passed on through kind of anorexic mothers or whatever, is like taking more food than you're going to eat. And then what you do with it is that you just maybe push it around on your plate for a while and then sort of leave it. And I've even seen this myself in parties, you know, like somebody's birthday cake or something. And there's a load of people at the party, and, you know, they've probably, the host has probably budgeted for each person to have, you know, a reasonably sized piece of cake. And then you have these kind of like kids raised by narcissists who take giant pieces of cake and then they leave it. Now, again, I don't know whether I'm barking up the wrong tree here, but it almost seems to me that it's a power stroke ego thing. You know, it's like, I'm going to take a huge amount of this this food that I know other people want, and then I'm going to leave most of it. It's a big power trip. Parents don't even say anything about it. They don't pull their kid up on it. So obviously, you know, it's like operational conditioning, isn't it? Skinner's rats, that the kid just thinks that that's okay. They get a kick out of it. I don't know, it's almost like training for psychopathy, isn't it? You know, another one that I've noticed as well, you know, this time, you know, from adults is no thank you. So, you know, again, it could be a party or something, and one of your guests, they just refuse to say thank you, you know. Just go, don't say thank you, don't say goodbye even. Not good behaviour, narcissistic behaviour. It's again about ego and a power trip, isn't it? It's like, I'm going to try and upset you by showing you zero respect. And I don't know, what can you say about that? It's not much you can say really. Is that apart from, I guess, is just not to be upset about it. You know, your actions define you, and other people's actions define them, and they just are what they are. And it's no surprise that these people all chose to go along with the biomedical fascism for entirely selfish, egotistical reasons. You know, they didn't care about how their compliance would affect other people's freedoms, you know, or the health of OAPs. What mattered to them was, you know, that they kept their jobs and they kept their big 4-bedroomed house. That's what mattered to them. Mini-me Satanism. So in conclusion, what can we do about it? I guess the simple answer is nothing, because we can only affect our own behaviour. We can't, you know, have any impact at all on the behaviour of other people. I guess apart from modelling good behaviour ourselves, smiling, being friendly, say hello, say goodbye, say thank you, being punctual, you know, all of these things. If we can model these things, then hopefully, you know, the other people might be inclined to copy that. Maybe. On the flip side, unfortunately, there could be a line of thinking that might suggest that their behaviour, you know, the people that went along with the biomedical fascism, it could get worse. And there's two reasons for that. First of all is just worry, you know, and of course they're preoccupied people, aren't they? They are mini-me Satanists. They only care about themselves. So, you know, there's no refunds with the Britney Spears and the Boosters concerts, is there? Like, once you've been to the concert, you can't ungo to it. Once it's inside you, can't get it out again. And I think as time goes by, you know, you're seeing more and more people dying suddenly, the turbo cancers, all sorts of stuff. So people who went to the concert, who complied, they're bound to be worried, aren't they? But again, they're not going to confess any of that to you. They're just going to suffer in silence, aren't they? And that's not going to be great for their mental health. So I anticipate seeing more kind of erratic, angry sort of behaviour, sullen behaviour. Maybe some of them too might be, I don't know, they might begin to feel progressively more and more guilty about what they've done once they actually come to terms with what's happened and what they chose to go along with. Whereas, you know, there'll be plenty of others who just, like, you know, form SS Einsack group, and, you know, these people are no different, by the way, to the people that work for the November Hotel Sierra. In fact, maybe the people that work for the November Hotel Sierra have actually killed more people than the Einsack group. But, you know, you've seen some of these on TV, haven't you? You know, these interviews with ex-Nazis. And some of them are just unrepentant. They never get it. They never get it. Such is their nature, and it's hardwired into them, isn't it? Conformity, obedient rule following. Good people follow the rules. It doesn't matter what the rules are. Stick this into somebody, a bullet or some magic potion, doesn't matter. What does matter is that they've been told to do it, and good people always follow the orders. So that's all I'm going to say today. It's absolutely boiling here. It's high 20s. Got a bit frazzled in the sun yesterday on the beach. So yeah, fantastic. Anyway, God bless.